All right, everyone, welcome to the Tonto's Demise Week 5 recap. This was the week when the lid came off. Big scores, big performances all around. I don't think there's ever been this many binks that I had to count up. Here's my list of all the names on there. Ignore the sticker. All those except Alec Pierce, who was on waivers. Everybody. There were some that didn't actually even count. There were more than what was on that list. But anyway, I guess the Thursday night game should have been an indication of things to come, because that was the night that Kirk Cousins. Sorry, I sound like I don't know where I am or what's going on right now. But anyway, game face. All right, Thursday night, Kirk Cousins went for like over 500 yards, racked up 85 plus points for Ed. And funny enough, that was 85 points from Kirk Cousins. You needed all 85 of those points, Ed, just to get a victory over Possum Magic this week. We'll get to that fairly shortly. If Kirk Cousins only scores 80, I believe he had like 85 point something. So I'm pretty sure if he only scored 80 this week, you actually would have lost. Although XXII, in retrospect, had also made a lineup choice that cost him this matchup, because it was only a 5.5 point difference here. But anyway, some of you may be curious. Some of you might remember the all-time point total, highest point total, I should say, of all time was definitely Drew Brees. I don't know what year it was, but it was 95 point something. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I have to dig around through the archives, climb inside the computer, figure that out. But I'm certain it's Drew Brees, and it's the record. He put up a 95 point score one time. So if you were curious if 85 was any sort of record, no, not quite. But yeah, it nearly wasn't enough for Ed this week. All right, but yeah, we had long touchdowns, high scores, all across the board. Some pretty good matchups, and 1, 2, 3 teams went over 200. There was a 197, a 199, a 193. So yeah, like I said, the top came off this week, and yeah, we had some offensive explosion. It wasn't just the Thursday night game there, although, so like I said, that was kind of foreshadowing of things to come. All right, let's get right down to it. Knock this out and get on with our lives. First off, we got the Wizard of Winbury, the defending champion, going up against brother-in-law Biscuits and Porn. Usually, traditionally have a very hard time beating Jim for whatever reason or not. This year, we turn the tables on him, and the Wizard of Winbury gets the victory, 238.4 to 200.15. Jim, you would have beaten. There's only one other team you could have played that you would have lost to. You would have beaten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 other teams, but you didn't. You got me, and I got you. All right. Biggest factor, obviously, in this matchup, we got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, the triple stack. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Burrow and Chase go for a bink. meaning Joe Burrow, actually, his score was 72.7, and Jamar Chase's was 47.3. And T. Higgins was 29.5. I think I totaled it up. It was like 140, something like that. Between those three guys, 140 some points. Almost a whole week's score for a whole team's score in some weeks here, including myself. I'll be the first to admit that. But anyway, so yeah, my triple stack. We feasted on the triple stack this week. So Burrow, T, and Chase. JSN goes for 13. Rashad White goes for 9.5. ETN goes for 12. Ferguson 13. Jordan Mason 8.8. Fairbairn 17 about. And then even though Joe Burrow put up almost 400 yards on the Baltimore Ravens and Chase put up almost 200 yards, I still somehow Baltimore managed to win this game, and somehow I still managed to scrape out 15 points from the Baltimore Ravens defense in this matchup. I think because I believe they didn't give up a lot of rushing yards, but everything else going to turn over a couple sacks, and they won. I couldn't believe they won the game. Lamar Jackson almost gave it away, fumbling the snap, but then El McPherson missed the kick, and then Derrick Henry ran it down almost into the end zone there, and Tucker kicked a short field goal, and the Ravens won the game. Joe Burrow did not look very happy, much like biscuits and porn at the end of that game as well. What they got for him? So you cracked the 200-point barrier this week. Unfortunately, you weren't able to get the victory. Mahomes goes for just under 47. DJ Moore, revenge game against Carolina. He pops off for 2 touchdowns, goes for 27.5. This was a fantastic wide receiver matchup this week. So DJ Moore, 27.5. Thursday night there, Mooney, 2 touchdowns for him, 31.5 points, and Juju on Monday night goes for 20. Looks like Mahomes to Juju might be a decent connection here for the rest of the season, since I believe they confirm Rice is not as severely injured as initially thought, which is good for him, but it looks like he still won't be back this season. Najee goes for 9.7. Bang Bang goes for 14. E. All Jr. goes for whatever his name is. A tight end from Cincinnati, I guess trying to combat Burrow there, but he only gets you 3. Madison in the flex goes for 10. Aubrey, your kicker from Dallas, goes for about 10 also. And then the Chiefs defense actually did pretty well against the Saints last night. Yahoo says 10, but I think you actually got a pretty significant bump. I think it was 18 points all the way. They had barely any rushing yards. You got first downs. Everything was pretty low there. I believe it was from not 10, but it was actually all the way up to 28 points there. So yeah, this was actually a really solid matchup of all of our wide receivers did really well. But it was not quite enough. Said Burrow. I beat you by 38. Burrow got you by like 20 something. But yeah, this matchup said you would have beaten most everybody. Probably liked what you saw out of the Mahomes. Juju didn't really see that coming. Juju blowing the dust. I guess the Chiefs blowing the dust off of Juju Smith-Schuster, and maybe he's going to turn things around. I don't know why he ever left Kansas City. To be perfectly honest, I don't know if it was for money or what it was, but that was the perfect spot for somebody like him if he wasn't going to stay in Pittsburgh. He won a Super Bowl Still is pretty young. I don't know. So again, I don't know why he ever left Kansas City. If the goal is to be on a championship caliber team, I don't know where else in the league you would want to be right now. But yeah. All right. So it was what we finished that with a victory. The Wizard of Wimber moves to 3-2, up to 5th place. Biscuits and Porn drops to 3-2, but he is still right above there in 4th place. What was the matchup of the week? Was it Brian, Justin, probably? Cougars, a Cougar battle. Hillbillies on PCP versus Darkwing Jet. Two teams moving in different directions here right now. Hillbillies gets the victory, 170.35 to 145.15 for Darkwing. This, again, and forgot to mention it too. Thanks after Disco and Dub C trading Jalen Hurts, now he's got the Hurts A.J. Brown stack. He's got the Kyler Murray Marvin Harrison stack, which hasn't quite been coming through so far this year. But so I've got the triple stack. Brian here has a stack. Detling has a stack. This is the year of the stack, I think. Unlike any we've ever seen before. Even Justin here has Josh Allen, Keon Coleman stack. I don't know. I don't know that there's ever been this many stacks in one season on so many different teams here. But anyway, I digress. Just an interesting thing going on this year, and we'll see how that shakes out for everybody. Anyway, speaking of stacks and binks, C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, he only catches 2 passes, but one of them was a 60-some yard touchdown. Stroud, so with the bink, Stroud goes for 52.25, and Nico actually went for 18.8. All right, what else? We got DK goes for 7.5, Cortland Sutton 5, Jerome Ford 8. Plug and play. Trey Sermon worked out for you. He scores a touchdown, catches a bunch of passes. 18 points out of him. Bowers, your tight end, shows up this week. He scores a touchdown, gets you 23.5. Shaheed with a touchdown in the flex there, 18.5. This matchup actually sort of came down to Monday night. Both of your flex plays, Worthy from the Chiefs and Shaheed for the Saints. But Justin, you would have needed Worthy to put up about, Shaheed outscored Worthy by 7. You would have needed, 7 plus 25 is 32. So yeah, you would have needed about a 43-point game from Worthy to have won this matchup. Just wasn't meant to be. Boswell in the rain goes for about 6 point something. And your Seattle defense they also score a bink. But I believe they gave up a lot of yards and everything. They didn't do too much. I don't think I had to change much from what Yahoo projected there for you. 15 from Seattle. Looks like the bump was up to only 18 there for your defense. Even though they said they had that 100-yard fumble recovery touchdown, they ended up getting beat by the Giants. Too many points, yards all over the place. Yeah. Well, so you didn't really gain much more than what you got from Yahoo there. So technically their bink was washed away by losing the matchup there. A surprising result at home against the Giants. But it was enough to get past Darkwing this week. He has Josh Allen, his stack. No binks for them. Josh Allen only 25 points and Coleman 12. But on the bright side, I guess there was probably Josh Allen's only touchdown pass did go to your guy Keon Coleman. Oh, it was Keon Coleman's only catch of the game for a 50-yard touchdown. So 12 points there. CeeDee Lamb, 11.5. Jaden Reed, 13.5. Kyron, 18.5. Bucky Irving, 5.5. Conklin, 11.5. Xavier Worthy, just under 12. Outside of Kyron, Justin, your highest scoring performer this week was your kicker, who happened to be a last-minute plug-and-play, if memory serves me right. He gets you about 17 points. And then your Jets defense, even though they lost to Minnesota, they didn't do they must not have did too great. There wasn't much of a bump for you. Yahoo says 16, and you must have also gotten a 3-point bump there to about 19 from your defense. But yeah, 25 points from your quarterback. You got doubled up here. Said you lost by just under 25 points, and your Brian's quarterback doubled up. Well, thanks to the long touchdown bonus, he slightly more than doubles up your quarterback, and that is really the main factor in this matchup, as no one else really did a whole lot. Bowers showed up for Brian. Just needed a little bit more there from some players there. Justin, but couldn't quite get there. With the victory, Hillbillies on PCP moves up to 3-2 and is in third place, right where he believes he should be according to the overall point totals, right? And Darkwing Jut, he drops to 2-3, and he is now in 8th place. All right. Now, after that, I believe that was the matchup of the week last week. Anything? Okay, we'll do the other one that came down to, it didn't come down to Monday night, but we already previewed this one a little bit. Possum Magic, trying to stay undefeated, moved to 5-0. Things were looking pretty bleak after Thursday night. Said when Kirk Cousins put up 85.45 points for Ed Lager, and he had Godwin go for 11.5. He was smoking you like a cigar. Possum Magic here after Thursday night. Unfortunately, the week is not over after Thursday night, and Ed Lager ends up just barely holding on to the victory in this matchup. But he gets it. That's all that matters. Every win in this league is valuable. 199.45 to 193.9. So like we said, Kirk Cousins, 42 completions, 500 plus yards, 85.45, 4 touchdowns. Godwin goes for 11.5. Zay goes for 19. Keenan goes for 6.3. Zach Moss, 8.2. Stevenson, even though he got benched, he must have made him angry. He went in there, got almost 100 yards and a touchdown. He gets you 19 points. Zach Ertz, only 3. Chris Olive, only 3 also. Matt's Gay, your avatar, gets you about 11. And then another factor that came through for you here, both big scores from both defenses this week. As Denver, Yahoo says 24. You had a interception return, Bink, in this game. Several interceptions. Yahoo says 24. Looks like you got a 9-point bump, including the Bink there, from the Denver defense up to 33. And again, it was just enough to get past Possum Magic this week. You did have Chris Olive on Monday night, who only put up 3 points, which made the pain. It was pouring salt in the wound of Possum Magic there, as we'll get to here real quick. Lamar Jackson did everything he could to keep you in this matchup, Treesice. 66 points from him. So a terrific quarterback battle in this matchup. Probably one of the highest scoring quarterback matchups you're going to see once every couple of years. Justin Jefferson, Scary Terry, and Michael Pittman, 15, 13.5, 14.5. Derrick Henry goes for 16.5. Javonte Williams, 16. Dalton Kincaid, 5.5. Where has that guy been this year? If he doesn't score a touchdown, he has been in single digits every single week this year. He's only got 5, 8, 9, 10, 15 catches in 5 games, man. Really thought he was going to take off this year. El McPherson, again, missed a field goal that would have won the game for the Bengals. So he only, and everything else he did was PATs. He gets you 3. And just like Denver, Minnesota's defense on Yahoo says 24. But I believe you got a little bit more than that. Looks like, Tree, you got a bump of about 15. Yeah, you didn't have any binks, and your kicker didn't have any fractional points. So yeah, you got, looks like a 15-point bump to 39. So terrific buns scores from both teams here. Really, dream bun scores. You'll take, if you can get that a couple times a year, you'll absolutely take it. But Tree Size Possum Magic coming up just a little bit short. I skipped over his flex, Trey Tucker. He played the Vegas receiver. Tough matchup at Denver, and he only got you 4.5 points. If you had started Roschon Johnson at home, a running back against Carolina, a bad team, he scores 2 touchdowns and 14.5 points, 10 more than Tucker scored, and you would have gone over 200, and you actually would have won this matchup. Not to question you. In hindsight, obviously, easy to say what you should have done, but basically anybody else, you would. I see on your bench here that if you would have used, not Adunze, I don't think, but even you're not going to start Demario Douglas from the Patriots. Probably not starting Likely from Baltimore. He is a little too hit or miss, but I will say here, even though I'm looking at it, said obviously in hindsight, it's a little bit of a head scratcher to me that you went with Tucker at Denver when you had Roschon at home against Carolina. For me, that's a pretty easy choice there. I don't know if you got burned by Roschon last week or after you picked. I think you invested some pretty good amount of fab into him. I think you did. I don't know what you did to Tucker too, but either way, my opinion doesn't matter. What I think doesn't matter. Is completely irrelevant. Gag says it is what it is, and you made the choice you made, and the outcome is the outcome. And yeah. So now, Ed Lager, with this victory, he moves up to 3-2, while Possum Magic stays in first place, but he drops to 4-1. All right. Dub C. Down, sad Dub C. Does the C stand for clown this year? Sorry, Kevin. No, of course not. It stands for seller, because that's where you are in the cellar. All right, I make myself laugh. That's all that matters. Dub C Hooligans. All right, you get your first victory of the year. You're back in it, baby. 155.7 over Boomers. 146.2. I will add, this means Boomers, you have been eliminated from the knockout poll in week 5 with your 146.2. All right, for Dub C Hooligans, off to a rough start with his quarterback. He traded for the Andy Dalton Deontay Johnson stack. He traded Hurts for Deontay, giving Disco the Hurts AJ Brown stack that I believe, Kevin, you wanted last year, but weren't able to get. And so you traded to give yourself the formidable Andy Dalton, Deontay Johnson stack. Unfortunately, they were at Chicago this week. But you got the victory. In the end, that's all that matters. I was going to say, what I started to say is you only got 22 points from your quarterback. However, you got almost 20-some points pretty much the rest of the way down your lineup. So Deontay only went for 6, but Ayuk goes for 22.5. Lazard, 13.5. Hubba Bubba. Oh, geez. Kevin. 3 Carolina Panthers in Chicago in your starting lineup. And you get the victory. Fantasy football is fucked up. You want to say it's skill or luck? I don't know which one is going on here, but Kevin. And I mean, I don't know if you're gonna. You got who else do you have besides Andy Dalton? Nobody. That's the only quarterback on your roster. Kevin. I don't know. But I foot in mouth because you won. All that matters is you won this matchup. Lazard Hubbard said Hubba Bubba goes for 17.5 points. Chase Brown 16.5. Kittle 20.5. The 2-2 train. You're riding. You're back on Kevin. You're back on the 2-2 train. We'll see how far this ride takes you this year. 12.5 points in the flex. Moody, your San Fran kicker, actually hurts himself trying to make a tackle. He gets you about 7 points, but he's going to be out for a couple weeks now. Looks like, I think, ankle sprain, high ankle sprain. He says he's down for a month or so. Not how often do kickers get high ankle sprains? That's why they tell them don't tackle the guys. Just let everybody else do that. But anyway, the Patriots defense, even though they lost the matchup, Yahoo says 18. Kevin, that must have been the correct score because you only got about a 0.8 bump there. But it was enough to get past Boomers this week. Jordan Love goes for 32.2. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns in that Thursday night shootout. 23.5 points. Debo, only 3. Tank Dell, 7.5. Perhaps another big factor in this matchup, Aaron Jones gets hurt in this game fairly early, I think, in parts with only 6.3. Bijan goes for 10.5. Trey McBride, 11.5. You plugged in Leggett in the flex there, I guess trying to go compensate for Kevin having, Dub C having Carolina quarterback. You want to try to balance that out with your Carolina receiver there. And unfortunately, he got injured in this game and only scored 1.8. Koo, besides Mike Evans, Koo is your highest scoring player. He goes for about 16. And then plug and play, the Washington defense actually did pretty well against Cleveland. A bunch of sacks, a couple turnovers there. Yahoo says 16. Zach, I don't think you had any binks this week. All the binks came in pairs practically because they were defenses or stacks. People's stacks. Let's see. Yeah, you didn't have any. Yahoo says 16. Looks like you got a 20 would be too much, so you must have gotten an 18-point bump up to 34. Pretty good score there. But yeah, Zach, you lost by 9 and change. You would have liked Debo to do a little bit more than 3. Aaron Jones stay in the game. Tank Dell. Nico goes out of the game fairly early. You would have liked to see a little bit more than that. So yeah, just a lot of disappointing performances for Boomers this week, and he gets the loss, gives Dub C his first victory, and like I said, that eliminated you from the knockout pool this week. All right, Zach, he drops to 2-3. He is now in 10th place, and we got Dub C still in the basement, in the cellar, the Dub Cellar Hooligans. He is said to still in 12th place. I am not used to speaking this much in such a short period of time, as you guys know. This is like a week's worth of speaking for me, crammed into 1 hour. All right, 1-4. He is in 12th place. All right, we got that. We did that. We got Rising from the basement. Well, I thought the man who thought he was dead after the beginning of the season, rising like the zombie. Shawshank Athletics. Zombie here approaching Halloween. Shawshank Athletics lost last week despite sniffing the 200-point barrier. This week, he goes over the 200-point barrier and smacks down Disco this week. 212.4 to 171.15. People losing with pretty respectable scores that are going to quite often get you victories. Tough pill to swallow anytime that happens to you. All right, Shawshank got off to a flying start with Drake London going for over 150 yards and a touchdown there on Thursday night. Went for 36.5. But let's let's take it from the top, as we like to do. Gina, any binks in your matchup? Just Disco there. We got Geno Smith, Anthony Richardson being tossed to the dumpster. Geno Smith, perhaps the pick that will save your season there, much like Jared Goff was the pick that saved my season last year. Geno might do that for you this year, Josh. 53.5 points. Your receivers, Garrett Wilson, 13 catches, 29 points. You'd like to see more than 100 yards from 13 receptions. So Drake London again went for 36.5. George Pickens only 5.5. There's something wrong with that guy. I'm not sure what is going on internally with the team, or he's just not happy, or I don't know exactly. But watching his performance, since nothing's going on, I don't really think Josh would be offended to say that we've negotiated in some trade back and forth. Nothing confirmed yet. We're still, keeping the channels open. George Pickens kind of been involved in a little bit of trade talk, but after watching his performance on Sunday night there, there's something definitely that I just, Josh, you probably want to, any interest I might have had in him is gone. I will say that. Josh, you might want to consider pulling him out of your lineup until something happens. I mean, this was a good matchup. Maybe I don't know. There's something isn't right with that whole situation. Tomlin said he was getting rest. He wasn't in for he wasn't running. His snap count was low. Other guys were getting more snaps than him, like Calvin Austin and Van Jefferson. I almost said Van Morrison. But yeah, that's your guy. That's your number one guy. I don't know there's something fishy. Something definitely smells with that situation. Well, yet we will see what happens there, how that plays out over the course of the season. But Josh, I would probably think about getting Wandale up into one of your wide receiver spots and sending George Pickens packing to the bench there. DeAndre Swift goes for 20. Miles Sanders, 5. Kelsey goes for 16. Also, Wandale goes for 16. Butker goes for about 12. And then your Steelers defense, even though they lost the game, they actually did pretty well. Yahoo says 20. I think that, no, that actually, you know what? I think we actually did cut you down 3 points there. After Sunday night, you were down to we cut you down to 17 for Steelers defense. Yeah, because I had to give you a -3. But then with Butker's fractional points on Monday night, he bumped. I think he actually gained you like 2.5 of those 3 points back. So yeah, Pittsburgh's defense must have been 17. But it was enough to go over 200 this week and get past Disco, who has the Lawrence to Brian Thomas connection, go for a bink, which means Trevor Lawrence had 50, just under 58, and Thomas went for 26.2. Jacoby Myers, 13.5. Marvin Harrison Jr., only 5.5. Brees, only 6.5. Ashan, only 2.5. And Joku, only 2.5. Josh Jacobs in the flex, 16.5. Tucker goes for about 13. And your Dallas Cowboys defense, a battle of defenses in head-to-head in real life and in fantasy life this week. Dallas gets the advantage. Yahoo says 12. But let's see what your bump was. This looks like you got a pretty significant bump. Well, you had +6 from the Binks, which would take you up to 155. So you must have gotten a 15-point bump for your defense, up to about 27. 10-point swing there. But yeah. So even though Shawshank had a pretty strong performance, despite everything, Disco, you still put up a respectable 171, which is a good score, which feels funny to say you still lost by 40 plus. But yeah, a couple of those, the keepers and those early picks are letting you down so far. Harrison Jr. had like one big week here. Brees and Ashan, we talked about them at their keeper stuff maybe a couple weeks ago. But yeah, on paper at least, going into the season, I don't think anybody would disagree that was a superb combination, keeper combination. But things just don't pan out sometimes. Like I said, on paper, it's gold. But for whatever reason, hey, the Jets just fired their coach this morning. So maybe that's going to change things around a little bit with how the offense is run there in New York. But yeah, gotta say, for the most part, those guys have been pretty disappointing. But so Tua comes back soon, I'm pretty sure. I think the Dolphins are actually going to bye this week. So we will see what happens if the Dolphins can turn things around once Tua comes back. You've been sitting with AJ Brown on IR for a little while. He should be back soon. You blew most of your fab on Kareem Hunt, which actually seems like it's going to be a fairly good play. You probably will need him this week with Ashan on bye. My initial thought was you didn't really need him. You were probably going to use him as trade bait. But the way some of those guys are going, he might be. You had Charbonnet going off on your bench when Ken Walker was out. Now you got Aaron Jones going to be out for a little while. Although I should say, the Vikings are again they're going to be on a bye this week. So having Chandler on your bench isn't going to help you out this week. But so Aaron Jones might miss a little bit of time. So you've got some pieces on your bench there to plug in. So now, again, like I said, now you've got Jalen Hurts and the A.J. Brown stack. So that I don't know what I'm not really sure what your plan is, because fantasy wise, Jacksonville is what you're looking for. um, Lawrence and Brian Thomas. They're a bad team. Their offense has huge potential. They're not playing well this year. They're losing a lot of games. I think they just won their first game, so they're like 1-4. But that's a situation those are the situations you're looking for in fantasy football. Teams are gonna have to throw a lot because they're behind and their defenses aren't very good. So I'm not sure what's good the AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts stack. I really think this is the year of Saquon when it comes to Philadelphia. Obviously AJ Brown, as we know, has been hurt. He'll obviously be plugged into your lineup, but for the most part, it would surprise me if you go away from Trevor Lawrence and that stack there. Maybe you'll use Hurts as trade bait somewhere down the line. Somebody's going to need something. Maybe a piece that you'll use. Kareem Hunt, Jalen Hurts there. Some pieces you might use to swing a trade or two here. Try to turn things around. But anyway, all right. So both teams are now 2-3, but they are teams going in different directions. Disco, at least currently, Disco now 2-3. Josh now 2-3. Shawshank up to 7th place. Well, excuse me. While Disco drops to 9th place. All right, we did everything except Yinzers versus Gags, which was unfortunately, never a close matchup here, as Yinzers clobbers from Gags to Riches, 197.25 to 136.55. Yinzer Jags just trolling Gags to Riches here, throws in Joe Flacco just for shits and giggles, and says, I'm going to beat you with the guy I can't stand. I'm going to bench Dak. Who cares? We're going to throw, you got Stafford, Goff, and Dak, and Flacco. Like, why do you have 4 quarterbacks on your roster? I don't know. Anyway. Dutling, so Yinzer Jags rubs it in Gags' face. He says, look, Joe Flacco is going to throw a bink, and it's not going to be to your guy, Josh Downs. It's going to be to waiver wire trash, Alec Pierce. Flacco, with the bink, he goes for 69 points this week. Amari Cooper, 10. Captain Kirk, 13. Wicks from Green Bay, only 4. James Cook, 18. Ken Walker, 14.5. Kraft with a bink. He goes for 2 touchdowns. 4 catches. 2 of them are touchdowns. One was like an 80-yarder. He gets to 24, just under 25 points. Whittington in the flex there, the receiver from the Rams, goes for 16. Bass goes for about 9. And your San Fran defense scored a touchdown, blocked a kick. Actually did pretty well. Yahoo says 16. Well, you had a bink from Flacco. You had a bink from Kraft. So that must have, they lost the game. They must have given up a lot of yards there. San Francisco did. So the actual score must have been 16, what Yahoo says, for their defense. For Gags, we got Sam Darnold. I don't know if he didn't adjust to the time change over in London that Sunday morning. It was 9:30 our time here. He goes, which would have been 9:30 our time, was 8:30 Minnesota time. Excuse me. I believe that's 8. I think they're in the other time zone. 8:30 a.m. Minnesota time. So Sam Darnold was up playing football at 8:30 in the morning. I guess he must not be a morning person. He goes for 19 points. Tyreek, 13. Diggs, 14. Lockett, 11.5. Kamara, 12.5. Connor, 14. Pitts, 16. Downs, 16. So, I mean, not awful scores here for Gags from down your lineup here. Mid-teens, not awful, but yeah, when you only get 20 from your quarterback, that always hurts. Narvison, the Packers kicker, don't even know what his first name is. B, we'll just call him Brian. 7 point something. And then the Buffalo Bills defense didn't do too bad, but they did lose there in Houston. Yahoo says 10. Gags, you did not have any binks this week, and that must have been, I'm going to say, you must have gotten a 3-point bump from Buffalo there to 13. But yeah, biggest factor in this matchup, obviously, Detling, Yinzer Jags getting 2 binks, and Flacco more than tripling up your quarterback in this matchup. But yeah, otherwise, I'm just looking at your rosters here back and forth. Fairly even. Said teen scores, about 15 or so through your lineup there, Gags. But yeah, you got tripled up by Joe Flacco over Sam Darnold this week, and that was the big factor in this matchup. With the victory, Yinzer Jags moves up and ties Boston Magic at 4-1, though he is still there in second place, while Gags to Riches 1-4, and he is in 11th place. All right, everybody, that is all of the matchups in what was certainly an exciting week 5. The Sunday night game, Steelers-Cowboys, even though the Steelers' offense is still trash, their defense is fantastic. I got to mention near the end of the game there, I forget the guy's name, but I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. He did a Troy Polamalu and dove over the line and smacked Rico Dowdle with his helmet right on the ball and knocked it loose and almost secured the victory for the Steelers there. I mean, what an unbelievable... I mean, how far he leaped through the air and ended up timing that just right to smack Dowdle and knock the ball out. That was just an incredible defensive play. I forget the guy's name off the top of my head, but kudos to him for that. Just a fantastic defensive play. Unfortunately, they couldn't recover the fumble and win the game. But anyway, this was by far the highest scoring point week of the season so far. I'm sure things are going to cool off a little bit here next week. Hopefully, actually, I hope not. But usually, and I know I'm a little bit worried because quite often when your team blows up for 200 some points, you're primed for a letdown the following week. So we will see what happens. That means a lot of us are primed for a letdown this week. So anyway, I believe I did mention that Zach is the one knocked out of the pool this week, meaning Josh, Justin, Gags, Kevin, and Zach are the first 5. You're no longer in it. Everybody else, if I did not say your name, you are still in the knockout pool. Excuse me. All right, what do we got in week 6? All right, we got a good one. We got the Wizard versus Yinzer Jags. Wizard trying to rise back up from the basement, while Yinzer Jags trying to climb to his way to the top. That's going to be a good matchup. I don't think I really have any bye week issues this week. Detling getting some of his, all of his Detroit Lions back this week. So we'll see what he does there. Currently, he's got Dak in the starting lineup over Goff. But you got St. Brown, you got Laporta. You got Kraft. He's currently got Kraft in the flex there. But you got your running back Walker going against your defense. San Fran. I think that's your only defense. Also on Thursday night, and I've got Mason, so a running back battle in this matchup on Thursday night. I got JSN too. So if he has a good game, that will help me. That'll hurt your defense and help me a little bit. So yeah, Thursday night we will be eyes on this game. For us, definitely like I said, I got JSN and Mason, and you got Walker versus your own defense. Never ideal situation. But I doubt you're going to pick. There's anybody to really pick up and plug and play this week. And I think that's pretty sure that's the only defense on your roster. But yeah, we're gonna go. We're gonna roll the dice again on the triple stack. Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. I actually like this matchup against the Giants. If the Giants can perform decently like they did last week, I mean the Bengals defense is trash. So hopefully the Giants, that game could be a shootout. So just looking at our matchup here, not to get ahead of ourselves too much and let the podcasters do their thing. This should be a great matchup, but I think your matchups are a little more difficult on paper. Not less than that. You got a lot of less than ideal matchups this week here. So Detroit's got a good defense. Dallas has a good defense. Cook against the Jets, who have a good defense. Walker against San Fran, who's got a good defense. So yeah, you got some tough matchups. I think I definitely got the favorite side when it comes to just matchup quality this week, but still. You got some some of your guys going up against tough defenses. That's really the only factor that really that jumps out at me looking at this matchup. But yeah, it should be a pretty good one. So looking forward to that. All right, what else do we got real quick? We got any 3 and 2s or 2 and 3s? All right, yeah, we've got Possum Magic against Gags, currently projected to win by about 50 points. I think Gags does not, as I speak, Gags does not have a quarterback available for this week, so he's going to have to do something about that. So not looking good for Gags, but anything's possible. He's hoping to turn things around. You definitely don't want to be 1-5, but Gags, it is not looking good for you. 2 teams on the rise, but only one can get a victory this week. Shawshank versus Ed Lager. That should be a good matchup. 2 teams on the decline. Somebody's going to get a win. Somebody's going to snap their losing streak this week. Justin's got 1, but Disco is riding a 3. Disco and Boomers. And they're riding 3-game losing streaks, while Gags is on a 4-game streak. Disco looking to snap that this week. Both of you guys need a victory, need to climb back to 500 this week. Unfortunately, only one of you is going to do it. Darkwing versus Disco, the battle of the D's. You guys can slap your D's together and see who comes out victorious. Boomers versus, so he needs to snap his losing streak. Hillbillies, so 2 teams going in different directions. That should be a good matchup. And Biscuits versus Dub C. Can Dub C start a winning streak here and knock some people down towards the middle there? That should be a good matchup. Let's just take a quick peek here and see how bye week issues affect anybody. For Kevin, looks like his starting lineup, he lost your kicker, but you got Montgomery back. Said your lineup pretty much looks exactly like it did last week. The Chiefs are on bye this week, so Biscuits, nope. Mahomes, no Juju. He's got Mooney, he's got Devontae Smith back. He's got Gibbs back from a bye. You're starting the Bengals defense because the Chiefs defense is on bye. You're hoping to get Evan Engram back, but yeah. You don't really have too many issues there other than your Chiefs. So you got Patrick Mahomes, you got Juju, and you got the Chiefs defense all on a bye this week. Kevin's got his triple stack of Carolina Panthers at home against Atlanta. I don't know. Kind of, if there's an ideal matchup for you, I think that's a pretty good one. That game could turn into a shootout. So yeah, that should be fun to watch. See if Kevin can start to really turn things around. Hopefully, still hoping for you. Don't hate to see you dropping off and forgetting about the league, forgetting about us. All right, what else did we got? Let's go straight down my line here. Boomers, and I think Nico is week to week, they said, for Hillbillies. So you might not have that stack available this week. You got Neighbors back from a bye. You got looks like your starting lineup's pretty much the same. Boomers, you got Dobbins back from a bye. Your lineup, other than Romeo Dubs in the flex, you're missing Aaron Jones. You got Juwan Johnson. You still have Washington's defense in there against Baltimore. Not sure I like that. You also have Cleveland's defense and Detroit's defense. So maybe you'll change that. We'll see what you do there. But yeah, not too many bye week issues there for you. So your lineups are fairly the same. No huge deals here. This week, Darkwing versus Disco. Probably the Chiefs are like one of the big ones. Chiefs and Vikings on bye this week. Disco's lineup, Chiefs, Vikings, and Dolphins on bye here. So Disco will be without Ashan. He can just move Jacobs into a running back spot, and we'll probably be able to put A.J. Brown in there somewhere. For Justin, he's got Worthy on a bye. Other than that, he's hoping Mixon plays, comes back. You got Jamison Williams back from a bye. So your lineup is not too much different than usual. So still, the bye weeks aren't causing any huge issues for people. Well, we like to see that where nobody ever gets handed a victory, but when the matchup is a little bit lopsided, you never want to see that. Shawshank, your lineup's basically the same. You got your Tennessee running backs back from a bye. You must have Kelsey's on the bye, so you got Gesicki. You need a kicker, but otherwise your lineup didn't really change a whole lot. Ed, your lineup, you got Saquon back. You're hoping for Devontae Adams to be back. Otherwise, your lineup is pretty much the same. And what else? Is that it? We said Gags doesn't have a quarterback this week. Take a look at him versus Possum. Possum, he's got obviously Justin Jefferson on bye, so he's got a Dunze in there. Other than Justin Jefferson, and the Vikings defense on a bye. Gags, you got some tough ones here. No Darnold, no Tyreek. Other than that, your lineup, same lineup as before. You're probably going to throw DeAndre Hopkins in there, and you need to find yourself a quarterback for this week. So, yeah, nobody's really being crippled by buys this week. So these matchups are going to be pretty good. Like I said, we're pushing I've rambled on long enough to push the hour mark here. Hate to crack that. But yeah, we got 3 and 2s versus 2 and 3s. We got 2 and 3s versus 2 and 3s. Gonna be some good, solid matchups this week. Looking forward to seeing what happens. Gags and Kevin, Dub C, hoping you guys are able to somehow turn things around and pull it out, and keep yourselves from falling farther away from the pack. Don't want to see that for you guys. Disco, Darkwing. One of you has to be 2-4 after this week, so that's going to be a good one to watch. You guys, one of you is going to be reeling after this week. Really need to turn things around. But yeah, this is going to be looks like another solid week of matchups overall. So looking forward to coming back here next week and talking about the events of week 6. All right, guys. Whew, I'm winded after all of this. You can probably tell. All right, thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. May all of your players meet or exceed expectations this week. No more injuries. We have already had way too many. They keep piling up for everybody. Can't wait to get some seals. There's a lot of guys who have basically not played much at all this year. Looking forward. Several teams have guys that they're looking forward to seeing finally come back and pay off. See some payoff from their drafting them. What else do we got? Kevin, your dog took a shit on my duck right there. If you could please clean that up. And otherwise, yeah, that is it for week. Excuse me. Horrible timing there. Week 5. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening, watching, or whatever it is you do. Good luck, and we will see you back here to discuss next week the events of week 6. All right, bye-bye.